Okay, so pre-setup steps. Now, these are really important. As soon as you see the email from Kathy or the email stating that the job is released, we are going to jump right over to these and get this rolling. So the first thing I like to do is get a hold of the project manager on the job, schedule a handoff meeting with that project manager, ask if there's anybody else they want to include in that meeting, whether it be a another project manager or a senior project manager to help guide through the different drawing and details that we're going to need. But we'll get that meeting scheduled. Usually you want to take a little bit of time prior to the handoff meeting to familiarize yourself with that project. Some things to do that is, one, you want to look through all the drawings, of course, but you're going to look for a spec book or a project manual. That spec book or project manual is going to give you all the nitty-gritty details of the job, whether there's soft closed hinges, self closed hinges, that sort of thing. You'll see there's a lot of things there that you're going to look for. You're going to want to look for a finish schedule and a hardware schedule as well as you're digging through those drawings, because this is where you're going to need this information to fill out the material log at a later time. And then later on, your drafting template for the project as well. So you're going to need to know where that information lives. You're going to be on the lookout for any abnormal details in complex designs as well. So what I mean by that is if there's anything that would pose an issue or maybe even need to be reviewed with somebody from the shop potentially or higher up, to make sure that we're actually tracking through those details and making sure we're designing something that we can build. So right away, let's take a look at these steps one more time. So scheduling the handoff meeting. Typically, the lead drafter is going to reach out to the head project manager. So going back to the original awarded email, you can see that here Trevor is our project manager on that job. Earlier today, him and I had a conversation through Teams, and we had discussed here we go. We had discussed setting up a handoff meeting for this specific project. So we got awarded as of this morning, and we're planning on meeting on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock to review the drawings. We had a conversation just stating back and forth, okay, let's get this thing scheduled. Do we have a job number? In this case, we didn't at the time, but we do now. And I also asked if there's anybody else that we want to include as part of that meeting too. So now we have 2 other participants within that meeting that we had to invite. And then to make a meeting invitation, you're going to go to Calendar in Teams. It should be on your left sidebar. And then to set up a meeting currently with the way things are set up, you're going to go up to here where it says, I'm sorry, not Meet Now. You're going to go to this drop down under New, and you want to set up a channel meeting. This is important because if you just click New, it will create a meeting that won't live within channel meaning the job number. So if you click channel meeting here, I'll show you what comes up. You're able to state what the meeting is. So you can see here, I already have a meeting scheduled, but we're going to practice by creating one here. So 6479 P and W 1315 Peachtree. Whoops. Oh my gosh, Peachtree Lobby. Follow that by handoff meeting to state the purpose of the meeting and then what date that meeting will occur on. So this is the title template that you should use. It'll be job number, job title, handoff meeting, followed by the date of the meeting. And then from there, you can add invitees to your roster. So we need to include Trevor per his message. We also need to include Josh Welch and Caleb Peterson too. So I'm inviting all 3 to this meeting. We are going to change the date from today to the 16th, and we're going to set that meeting up for 10 o'clock in the morning. And usually I'll set these meetings for an hour. An hour seems to be a good middle ground. Sometimes they'll go a little over, sometimes they'll go a little under. You don't want it to go too far over, and you don't really want it to go too far under either, because if you go too far under, that means you probably skipped some information that was really important. If you go too far over, um, then at that point, the meeting becomes kind of mundane a little bit and hard to follow. So really, you want to keep it on track. About an hour, maybe an hour and a half at tops is probably where you want to live. Then from there, once you have the date and the time set up, you're going to want to set the channel to the correct job. So in this case, we are 6479 PNW 1375 or 1315 Peachtree Lobby. You can just set that in the general chat there. But what that does is it will associate this meeting to that job. And then when the meeting is done being recorded, it will actually save that recording in the job folder, which you can access there. If you skip this step or forget this step, you will still have access to that recording, but you'll just have to go looking for it through the chat after the meeting, which is kind of more difficult. So I always want to try to remember to set your meeting in your actual channel or your team. Then from there shouldn't be anything else to fill out on this side, but over here you want to actually check the record and transcribe automatically. At the beginning of the meeting, it's a good idea to let the parties know they're being recorded, but if you do check this box, you'll less likely have any issues with remembering to hit the record button at the beginning of the meeting. So good thing to have in there. Then when you're all done, you can just hit send. It will send an email invite out through Outlook, and each person invited to this meeting will receive an invitation that they can hit join or decline, and you'll receive those invitation RSVPs back to your inbox, and you'll be able to know if people are able to make it or not. It's a good idea to check with each party involved at the beginning before setting up the meeting, so you can try to weed out any scheduling conflicts prior to the meeting, though. So let's go back to our steps real quick. Let's talk about familiarizing yourself with the project. So there's a couple things to do. In this case, always a great idea to look for a project manual. It's going to be in the architecturals folder, or it should live there if there is one. Not every job will have one, just so you know, too. Larger jobs usually do, smaller jobs sometimes don't. So we're going to look for that. And we're going to look for finishes and hardwares, as well as any abnormal details that we need to watch out for on the job. So let's go to the Perkins and Will job folder, 6479. And we're going to go up to drawings, architecturals, and right away you should see if there is a manual. It would be in this folder here. If you don't see one, you can take a look through the subfolders if you'd like to see if you see anything. Right now I'm not seeing anything, and based on the number of drawings as well as the budget, you can tell this job isn't a very large project. So it doesn't look like we have any here, unfortunately, but that's okay. I'm going to pull up a separate project here that I can show you what that manual looks like, just so you can see what that would be. We're also bidding on another project at the current moment for NVIDIA, and that job does have a project manual associated with it. And I want to show you where you can go to find that information if you ever do need to find the millwork information in a project manual here. There we go. All right, here we go. So it should say project manual or project specifications in the title of the file. And when you open this up, it's going to be a very large book. In this case, this one is 794 pages long, which is pretty extensive. But really, this encompasses all the trades that are involved in the project. So really, it's going to include a lot of information, and we don't need to see all of that. What we're specifically looking for will be 06, which is the millwork section of the project manual. You can see division 6 here. Looks like it would be miscellaneous rough carpentry, interior architectural woodwork, and plastic paneling. That would be us right there. So Then from there, you're going to look for the section number. So we're looking for 61053, 64023, and 66400. Here we go. This is the start of the 06 section of the project manual. It's a very dry read, but it's a very good idea if you're leading a project to make sure that you understand what the project requires. So we are going to run through this and we're going to look for some things that might be important. And this, again, is a different project, so it doesn't relate to the Perkins and Will, but it's something that we need to watch for if you ever have a job with a project manual. So there's description of wood panels complying with um, different water and fire ratings. That can be important. What I'm looking for more specifically here would be, and it may be a little further down because the screws and fasteners aren't so important to what we need here. I'm going to keep going here until we see something that's actually important for what we need. Again, just paying attention, we are in the 06 section of the project manual here. There is some important notes to watch for here. So shop drawings, they have specific requirements. Luckily, in a case like this, the requirements that they have actually comply with the AWI requirements for shop drawings anyway. So really, we do cover these as we go into our current standard of drawing anyway. So it talks about what it takes for submittal, requirements for drawing scales, requirements for what is shown on a drawing. See, we're going to keep going because some of this relates to storing and installing materials. So really, that actually doesn't matter so much the drafting process here, but we're going to keep going. Things like this is really important. Cabinet hardware and accessories, you're going to look for things like this because it's going to give you information about what type of hinge they are requiring. As you can see, they have a requirement for a European type concealed all metal furniture hinge with a 35 millimeter hinge cob boring pattern. Now our current standard of hinges actually complies with that too, so we're okay there. One thing that we would want to ask the project manager in a case like this is the minimum hinge opening is set to 155. That's minimum for this project. Now we can get hinges that go up to 170, but our current standard is a 135-degree hinge. So it's something that would be worth asking just to see if we can use our standard hinge or if we need to up it to the 170 for this to work. Other things that you can watch for too is going to probably talk about your poles, where they're mounted, what types of poles, what are the pole specs, what are the finishes. You're going to find a lot of that information in these books as well. Let's see, closet rod information, drawer slides, all really important things to watch for here. When it comes to hinges and slides, always look to see if there's soft close or self close too. It's a very small difference in the way the hinge operates, but it's a cost issue too. One can be a little bit more costly than the other. So we always want to make sure that we're specing the correct hinge type based on the project specifications here. So see, anything else? Talks about what kind of locks you can use. Talks about grommets, what types of grommets, what size, what finish they need to be. So definitely something that I know this is a different job once again, but it's all stuff we really need to pay attention to. So if we ever see a project manual, it's a good idea to jump right to that first once you get into an actual job. So back to familiarizing ourselves with the project, we're still looking for the finish schedule and the hardware schedule. So let's look at our drawings here. You can see we have a total of, we have a total of 7 drawings on this job. So not very big, but it'll be a good one to train with. we're looking for finish schedule and hardware schedule. Sometimes there'll be a specific drawing like this that says schedules on it, and it may actually include that finish and hardware schedule on it. In this case, I'm not actually seeing one here. If I zoom in, you can kind of see that this is actually due or related to the partitions and not actual hardware or finishes. So it doesn't really help us there. So although it says schedules, it's a little deceiving. Let's see what else we've got. So demolition floor plan, nothing there that relates to that. Construction plan, again, I'm not seeing anything that relates to finishes or hardwares on that job. We'll keep going here, and here we go. This is exactly what we're looking for. So we're taking note that page A4501 in the architectural set is where we're going to go to find our finishes. Looks like maybe hardware would be in here. Sometimes they do hide that within the millwork sections of the drawings too. But as of right now, I can actually see that I have a list of finishes here that could be used on the job. If you see anything highlighted, it's a signifier that we have it picked up. Our estimating team will usually highlight that to let us know this is our scope. If you see anything that's not highlighted, generally it's probably not our scope, but it's something to watch out for though. You can see over here as well, there's more finishes as well as equipment that's on here too. The equipment will typically be by others, but we still need to take note of that because it usually does interact with the millwork. And so we need to know where this schedule lives. Same thing goes for the plumbing schedule too. It might interact with the millwork. We need to know where this schedule lives. Um, Now, as far as hardwares go, we'll have to look later. But I do believe that a lot of the hardwares we need on this job will be in our section views. So if I go back to our architecturals here and we examine these section views a little bit more closely, um, I can see that it looks like there is an art rail here. And it says that art rail is MTL4, which if you go back to your finish schedule, since they called it out as a finish, MTL4 is an Outwater Industries art rail, which is a hardware for us. So that's something we need to take note of. We're going to look for other things too. Like here, I can see there's a Dogmaket tab pull. It's a DP3A 3-inch tab pull, and it looks like they want matte black finish on that. And it says typical. When it says typical, that would mean typically that you're going to see it across other cabinets on the job too. So that's something worth noting and keeping track of. So it looks like that could potentially be the only pull on the job, but we need to look for, elsewhere to make sure that that's not just a pull used in one area or another. Let's see. So in this case, it does look like there's not a hardware list, and we kind of have to compile that as we go, which is absolutely fine. We can do that. We just have to kind of do a little bit of find like hide and seek, sort of looking for looking for information based on what we see in the architecturals. So we're gonna keep on going here and see what else we can do. So we looked at finishes, we looked at hardwares. We're going to look out for any abnormal details on the job. Um, Abnormal details can vastly change based on what we're looking at. We are custom millwork, so you're going to see all kinds of crazy things. But anything that strikes you as something that looks like it's complicated to build, if you see metal panels, it's worth raising a flag on that. If you see anything that maybe like faceted panels or curved furniture or things like that, it's all worth at least, thinking about it and seeing if it's something we want to talk to either a higher up or a shop member or a lister to see if there's anything that we need as far as like how do we build it? Do we have a good idea on how to build it, or do we need some more direction on that? So um, at this rate on this job, it does not look like there's anything super complicated. There are some things that are a little weird, but I think we can work through it. Like, for instance, I'm looking at this set of cabinets here, and there are some undermount slides, which are no big deal. It's just something to take note of. Um, I'm also seeing elsewhere that there is a display case which lives right here on this wall, and we'll have to take note of that too. A couple things we do need to make sure of is, do we have the glass in the display case? Do we have the hardware related to the glass in the display case? Um, do we own the glass shelves? That sort of thing. Good questions to ask and write down. So anytime you're seeing things that kind of strike you as a little odd, maybe do we like questionable if we have it in our scope or not, it's a good idea to write it down as you're looking at the project, kind of keep track of them. And as we go into a further in-depth discovery of the job, we might actually find an answer to that. And if we don't, then we can always ask during the handoff meeting. So always good to keep track of any questions you might run into. Um, well, as far as questions go, though, or I guess complex items go, I think we've kind of done, there's not really a lot here. So we've kind of already gone through this and done our discovery on if there's any complex items to build. Doesn't mean something won't come up later, but for right now, it looks like we've already got everything we need. So when we get back to it, then the next step we're going to be going over will be the on-site materials base. So setting that up. So I'll stop the video now and we'll go over to the next one.